Welcome to Militaris Monday. Greetings everyone, I am Sister Lilia and I figured I'd take a look at what I've been working on over the last week. So in a big video I did last week, you guys will have seen all of these. We've got the Ogre and Bodyguard, we've got the two Catachan, we've got the understrength and slightly underarmed Storm Militaris squad, or Militaris Storm squad, or whatever the damn term for them is. And yeah, their video happened and they were a whole lot of work. That model is getting a separate video hopefully later in the week that just covers its build and takes the build section out of that video. The other thing I've been working on is some rebels. I figured it's been a long time coming that I'd actually, start Star Wars Legion. In truth, I should have started it 10 years ago. I've been wanting to for a very long time. I've been promising a terrain build for a long time. And with the terrain build getting closer, I got myself some rebels. Now, for Imperial fanboys out there, don't worry, the Empire shall strike back. But yeah, so let's get everything on tripods and start taking a look at things. A few years back, people may remember that I conversion built a Commissar Ogre bodyguard. Then recently I ended up with a spare Ogre Glutton torso through a bits bag and ended up creating this dude. So I went for the Norm Dedoc load out with him because I had the parts. Now I chose not to put the Servo Skull on him because I want to use that somewhere else, potentially on an Inquisitor. But yeah, I'm seriously considering taking advantage of the Guard Tank Kit backpacks for when I actually make use of a full box of Ogre Gluttons and turn them into Ogre for my Imperial Guard. But that build's a little ways off, so there's at least time to accumulate parts. So, going from one model to two. So, these are my first Catachan. Now, I could go in and do a whole lot of camo work on them, and I probably will later in the year when I have more of them. But out of that same bit slot, I ended up with the parts to build these two. Didn't have enough parts to build any more, unfortunately. But part of me has wanted to have Catachan for like 10 years or more, along with having a jungle warfare battlefield. So maybe I'll make that happen this year, along with getting the parts I need to complete the squad. But yeah, I think the skin tone on these worked relatively well, and it was surprisingly simple. Steel Edge and Drab, then I think, was it either Cadian Flesh Tone or Rakarth mixed in with the Drab. I think it was Cadian Flesh and Rakarth, or Cadian Flesh and Steel Edge and mixed together a bit, and then wash put over the top, just Agrax Earthshade. Worked relatively well. So yeah, my Guard Army colour is blue, and main colours are blue and brown. My PDF, not so much using the brown part, but more using, except with their armour. They use it a lot with the tanks, but they use blue and a bit of white now and then. So my Militaris Storm Selection, or whatever the proper term is for these, squad is very much an incomplete unit in terms of strength and weapons, but out of that bits box I'd ended up with the parts to build 4 of these, and I already had the Sergeant under construction. Originally had a different hand in there, but I decided to just give them a spare sword. Now it's not a power weapon, probably not worth giving them power weapons. as to actually using Solar Auxilia, I don't know. I've looked at their rules, and in a game that is basically Marines with a side of something else to a degree that 40k even isn't, 40k wishes it was, given how Marine heavy everything is, but the Solar Auxilia are lacking in so many tools they need to directly combat enemies, especially this edition where template weaponry got massively nerfed. Probably the way it's been handled, I feel like someone at GW lost to the Solar Auxilia artillery army, and instead of taking the loss on the chin and just continuing on like, my army list obviously wasn't very good for this list, they went ahead and nerfed them hard. Like, they went and all artillery units pretty much lost a few inches off the size of the blast templates. Space Marines got the ability to be more spread out and got more wounds and more toughness, I think. So a lot of things aren't instant deathing them. And yeah, I'm not really sure how how a full game of Heresy will go. But the goal with these kind of long term is, because I'm planning on getting more Solar Auxilia tanks to using conversion, most notably a whole bunch of Dracosan over time, so that I can convert them into Minotaurs for my guard, I'm going to end up with some spare tank crew. And those tank crew are going to get used to fill out this squad. Now, as for getting more Volkite, I don't know. I don't see myself getting enough rhinos or rhino chassis stuff to have 7 more Volkite charges. But we'll see. As for the goal is really, at its core, one squad and a conversion-built Aurochs with a gunner on top of it operating heavy stubber. That's it. That's the goal at its core. Now, the bigger goal from that might be setting up a Tercio. I kind of like the not actually a platoon thing. I like those light support walkers that they can take, and why not run more troops? The command selection can be up to 10 man, which is probably a good thing, but if one model is in a transport, the whole unit probably should, the whole Tercio probably should be. Anyway, we'll see if I do something Heresy related. What I'd love for Heresy would be rules for, the surviving Xenos forces. In all honesty, I care more about the Great Crusade than I do the Heresy. And I'd like to, have the various enemies that humanity fought during the Great Crusade be options to play against. Because, then the Imperial forces would have something other than each other to kill, and also Solar Auxilia would have a chance to fight something that isn't Space Marines or Mechanicus or Demons of the Runestorm. I mean, sure, maybe if I luck in and have a militia player to play with, that could be fun. But yeah, anyway, on to the last part of this. So we have here some Rebel veterans, or at least I think that's what they're called. Now, these ones I didn't get in box. I got them as part of a separate lot, which meant they cost a lot less. Now, that means they probably came out of the Echo Base Defenders bundle. And with the fact we've just got a brand new edition of Legion, and the bag of cards that I have here somewhere is now rendered worthless, along with the tokens, I probably can't, do a review on them. Well, maybe I can. I mean, I do have something planned for the Empire as well. But yeah, these are neat. Like, we've got the standard blaster rifles. We've got, is that an ion gun? And we've also got the turret. Now this is my first experiment with doing snow bases. At times it's a success. Like you've got differing intensities on each one of them, and we've got the turret there that I'll bring up in a moment. But they're not going to be the only army I do this year with snow bases, both out in Legion and outside of it. Because I want to do winter-themed Ultramarines because I love the stories of the Polar Fortress. Like the heroics of Calgar's forces against the Tyranids. Defending the Polar Fortress is cool. And I figure if I'm going to, given the amount of Ultramarines I've got, I might as well do something relating to the Polar Fortress. Given I like the story of it. Now, as to if I'll actually make the first company, I doubt it. That's just too many Terminators. But I do have a collection of Space Marine stuff that would work, including a whole lot of models to convert into Blackguard. But I'm getting sidetracked. Star Wars Legion. I've been meaning to start this game for 10 years. I've had a big terrain project in Renvar, in my dream projects for a very long time, and just put you there now. I actually haven't attached the gunner on there permanently because I want to make sure that I get the shape, get the positioning right because of the angles. Oh, there goes some of GW's snow. But yeah, that is, like, apart from the base coat of the primer and the black layer over the primer, that is 3 colours, or 3 paints. We've got ultramarine blue as the base, a patchily applied off-white from Vallejo, and then, what do they call it? Valhalla Blizzard or some such? Huh, nailed it. And this stuff. Now I've got that for the Ultramarines, but I'll use it with these as well, because it honestly won't be too much of it. Legion actually seems more approachable than 40k, because it's lower model count armies, and as a result, you're given more of a chance to actually enjoy what you're playing. Well, I say that, less of a chance of your army taking up 3 hours of another person's time just for you to move them. I've played guard. I never truly ran full platoon guard. Partly because, building that is expensive, but also you don't want to be a dick. As much as I like the idea of running massed platoons of infantry, you run into the problem of you are taking so long to move, even if you use movement trays. Legion takes things in the opposite direction. You've got squads that are rarely 10 up. Like, I think the largest squad I've seen is 10 models, but most are kind of around 5 to 6, sometimes 7. And you're not running huge numbers of them. You're kind of running the same kind of numbers as Space Marines, honestly. And even then, Space Marines run more than them. But yeah, now I'm going to do some kind of a beginner-friendly tutorial on the basing method soonish, hopefully. If I can work out something rigid enough, I'll also do some ruined terrain. Because, we've got... And they've just announced what's it called? Battle of Hoth boxed game that isn't Legion. It's a different thing, but like that'd be a useful thing for people to know how to paint snow and snow terrain. Now, I know there are other companies that make paint supplies and such like this. I haven't gone through enough of them because they all cost money. That's why I And I partly stick with things I know materials wise, partly to avoid the risk of wasting money. At the same time, I do have some GW paints that I've not really used. But yeah, like these are nice sculpts. I say nice, they're not really, like, I'll be honest, the Solar Auxilia stuff probably is actually nicer quality. There are mold lines on there that I didn't notice until after I'd primed them and started painting them. And like these are some really old ones. These are the old, I think these are like for early years of Legion, so they're probably not going to be as good a sculpt as, you know, the Dark Troopers. Wouldn't mind getting some of those, although probably more likely to get the Range Troopers because I like the look of them. Very much with Star Wars Legion, part of it's going to come down to I'm going to run an army based on what I want to run, not so much what's good. Especially since apparently the Emperor was really powerful and now has been taken away. Because Disney went, okay, we want to change how things are working with your game, so we're going to just up and take away the Emperor from you. It's like, oh, okay. Who knows, we might see things change with Andor. Anyway, I've rambled on for way too long about these. Hope you enjoy it. What's your experience with doing snow effects been for miniature bases? I'd love to hear. Now, before I end the video, there's been a project I've been working on that I forgot to pull over. So, with my channel recently hitting 412 subscribers, I started making the OG Dawn of War Imperial Guard Commander, General Stern himself. Now, I know a lot of folks like Van Stubbs and Lucas Alexander, but General Stern does it for me. Now, I might make the other ones later on, and this thing isn't finished. I ran into so many issues trying to make the Storm Bolter out of actual bolter parts. I'm just going to have to conversion build it. Just going to have to sculpt the thing out of green stuff and stick plastic into it, plastic cardboard into it to make it actually fit. But yeah, so this is coming as well when I get it done. At this rate, it won't be until after Star Wars week. Yes, I gave away what's coming soon. Anyway, thanks for watching. Bye.